Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So a couple of things to get through here, so let's jump straight in. First up, the How to Draw Avatar The Last Airbender book that I talked about the listing being revealed a while back. Now we have the cover along with who the kind of artist is kind of doing the book. So you can see here, illustrated by Patrick Spaziante, who has worked on Avatar previously. He has done some of the basically 2000s era Avatar books from like 2006, 7, 8. But interestingly, he didn't do the previous How to Draw Avatar The Last Airbender book. It does seem to be a completely new book, but he worked on some of the Lost Scrolls books, along with some of the other books that Random House have reprinted, that sort of thing. So that's interesting. If we look at the cover, you can see here that, yeah, this is one of the newer, as in 2020's era, pieces of Avatar promo art. This Aang is definitely not from, the early to mid 2000s. And you can see an idea, of course, how the book is going to work. This is always the way that these kind of kids' how to draw books typically work. We'll have to wait and see exactly how they go about doing it, but typically it is very much they show you a bunch of pictures as just do this, and then in the next image, draw everything that wasn't in the previous image. There isn't usually a lot of text instruction. It is a very visual thing. Some will find that helpful, some won't. So it'll be interesting to see the exact approach to this, but it's interesting. It's at $12.99. It's coming out July 1st, 2025. If we go to the Edelweiss listing for the book, you can see here they confirm it is going to be 64 pages. So it's not going to be a huge book, given that, we assume it's likely going to be one of these things where they take it from maybe somewhere in the region of 2 to 4 pages per specific piece to kind of cover how to actually draw it. All they confirm here is that Aang, Tezuko, Katara, and more are going to be in here. It says it has step-by-step illustrated instructions that demonstrate how to turn basic shapes into detailed drawings. So I don't know, usually with these I hope that there is maybe a little bit of text instruction for specific points, but we have to wait and see what the plan is ultimately here. So yeah, and again, just to highlight this, from the marketing from Random House, this is part of their kind of summer 2025 plan for Avatar, which is that they're going to have these 4 books releasing pretty close together. So of course there's this book, the How to Draw book. There's going to be the chapter book, which is the new Bending Academy kind of kids novel. That's a completely brand new content, which is quite exciting. But also a screen comics, as well as a Little Golden Book, where we probably assume that to be the next I Am book, but those two have not been detailed yet, so we don't actually know right now what the other Little Golden Book and screen comics are. We just have the listings for these two, with hopefully the cover for this book coming maybe in the next couple of weeks, maybe next month. So that's going to be a fun one to see what exactly this is, because this of course has the Avatar Legends tagline as well. So moving away from that into merchandise news. So after quite a while of waiting, if you've followed the news all year on my channel, much earlier in the year, I covered the idea that some rumors came out about some deluxe Avatar Funko Pops coming out, and now we finally have that. So that rumor has turned out to be completely true. And yeah, I think the plan was for these exact 4 characters to have these sort of elemental fancy kind of versions of them, and that's what we have here. So let's kind of go through them one by one. They're all Pop Deluxes, so they're going to retail for $30. On the European site, they're $35, so they are quite expensive for what they are. So here is the Aang. So here it is sort of out of box, and here it is in the box. So you can see straight away what they're going for here is that it's going to be Aang, Katara, Toph, and Zuko, so one of each of the 4 elements, basically. The element symbol is going to be represented across the base, and sort of a bit of a backboard on the base, with in my mind, fairly standard and plain pop being the actual figure. In that, I love the idea of what these pops are, but I do not like that Aang. I think that's way too plain for the 5th, 6th, 7th Aang in this line, for it to just be like the book 1/2 Aang design with the standard staff. The actual base I think is cool, and I love that they're using the full kind of element symbols in the background. But at least to me, it just feels like the actual figure is just there, not really doing all that much for me. The Katara, obviously very cool. I love the transparent blue plastic here. As you can see, they highlight she's kind of doing a crazy water whip into the ground, and that's the base. But then up behind her, it's also forming the water symbol. But again, it has the same problem of why is it her book 1 design? They seem obsessed with her book 1 design in the Funko Pops, as if her other designs just simply don't exist. Why is this not book 3 Katara, or even book 2 Katara? I don't understand. So to me, probably this is, I would say, probably the most disappointing one in terms of just what the core figure is, even though I would arguably say the base behind it maybe is the best looking of the bunch. Next up is Toph, which I think is fine, because there's not too much variation in Toph's character design over the course of the series. So unless you were going to do like her comic design where it's slightly different, you kind of had to just go for standard Toph, doing earthbending to make the earth symbol behind her. I think it looks, good. This is one of those ones I would really like to see what this looks like in person, because a lot of the other ones you're going to get by using a lot of transparent plastic with a little bit of paint, whereas this is the one where it's not going to be really transparent. So how exactly does this look? I'd be interested to see how this goes in person. So this one's definitely pretty nice, but again, I think the pose is still relatively plain. It doesn't like maybe do as much for me. And then finally the Zuko. So of course it's Zuko on a fire base with the fire kind of symbol in the background. And again, it looks like it's using transparent plastic quite heavily here. The only issue I have with this is what character design for Zuko are they going for here? Because it's clearly his book 3 head, because it has the kind of messy hair kind of representing Zuko when he finally decides to make the switch at the end of the series. But he's clearly wearing like Fire Nation armor, and it's like, it's not his Fire Lord outfit, because of course his Fire Lord outfit should have him with the headpiece, which he doesn't have. But then, like, when does he wear it in the series? And if you look it up, you can actually find out that in the early stages of book 3, when he goes back to the Fire Nation, during key scenes when I guess he has to wear more formal attire, he does wear this specific Fire Nation armor with a lot of the red trim on it and stuff like that. But he never wears that armor with the messy hair. He always has his hair really neatly done in the kind of top knot. Never like this. So this is another one of these examples of one of these pops where they've actually chosen a very niche design for Zuko within the series, where, like, as far as I'm aware, he only wears it for like 2 scenes across maybe like a minute of screen time. And technically, including the kind of parts that they're using here, it's never done in this combination, which I think is a little bit frustrating. Where, like, what are you doing here? Like, why isn't this like the book 3 Zuko design just on its own? Why did you go out of your way to design an entirely new body for Zuko? But then what it feels like is just plop the old book 3 Zuko head on this body and not adjust the hairstyle to match the scene that you're actually going for. And it just feels very weird to me that these, I think, really should be like end of series designs, or probably the comic designs, to make them seem a lot more different. As it is, I can't see myself getting these, at least pre-ordering them, because it's like $120 for the set. It's going to be $140 for me here in Europe, and that's just way too much, given that I'm not super impressed by the actual core figures. So I think with these ones, I'm going to definitely wait and see. If I miss out on them completely, fair enough, but if they end up being like a lot of Pops, ones where they do, in a couple of months time, they do go on sale, they are available, and it's a pretty decent sale, I could see myself grabbing at least maybe one of them just to kind of see what it's like. But yeah, it just feels a bit like weird, where like there's still a bunch of characters that they haven't done in the Avatar Funko Pop line. These are obviously different and unique in some ways, but some of them are a little bit boring in my mind. So let me know your thoughts on these in the comments below, definitely. But that's that. Let's quickly cover how Journey of Aang is doing as well. So we're up to 173,000 here with 1.72 thousand backers. 13 days, so just under 2 weeks to go. And we do have a few more stretch goals unlocked here. So we got the new companions stretch goal. So we're going to be getting Zuko, Yang Chen, Pakku, and the Canyon Guide. Again, we still need to see them clarify what characters are in the initial 16 versus who these extra characters really are, but I'm assuming they'll give updates on that as the time goes. We're actually quite close to the alternative art for like Zhong and some of the other characters, and not too far away as well from the non-bender companions, Suki and so on. A new thing they've added in actually is this, and I'll cover this in one of the posts that they've done. It's stuff that you can see here. This is update 14. They've done 2 new updates of like completely surprise kind of extra things. So this is just going to be unlocked. I'm pretty sure it's later on today is what they said. But I wanted to cover this before they properly announced it, just to judge opinions versus like what it actually ends up being. They're going to be adding in 2 new Nemesis options. So what they mean by this is obviously in the core game, you are aiming to fight Fire Lord Ozai at the end, or if you take too long, you will face Phoenix King Ozai at the end. They're the kind of end boss characters. They're going to be introducing a family-friendly boss character for kind of family or easy mode. And then they are also going to be basically doing a hard mode character. Now, I wonder what these are going to be, because it's going to be very boring, I think, if it's just Ozai with lower numbers, or Ozai with higher numbers, because we already have that. So it feels like it has to be different characters. They're emphasizing the other one as family friendly, so I'm guessing that's probably going to be more of maybe like just an oddball character, where it's either going to be something very gimmicky, or they'll just choose like some random Fire Nation character. I don't really know. I'm interested to see how this actually ends up kind of going. Will it be a spirit? But at the same time, I then think about who's going to be the more challenging of the enemies. Could they be familiar faces, or perhaps unexpected forces from the Avatar world? A spirit probably makes sense to be like a super high level enemy, but like Ko the Face Stealer would probably be the obvious choice, but he's already in there as a challenge card, so I don't really know what to make of that as such. So I don't know. Some interesting surprise reveals. I'm excited to see what they do with that. And then, yeah, the other one here is this. This came out of nowhere, but probably might have been something to be expected. It's a dice rolling game when you really break it down. So, of course, a dice tray to roll your dice into so they don't just scatter all over the place. They are offering this basically with the idea of, hey, if you've already backed, you get this. If you haven't backed yet, but back in the next couple of days, you will also get this. But then, if we get up to this many backers or this amount of money, the date at which you will get this for free as part of your order will be extended by an extra 5 days. So this is, I think, a pretty clever tactic to get people to back in the middle of the campaign, and not just wait until the end when they can come in and just grab all the stretch goal kind of type stuff at the end. Whereas this actually, I think, is pretty good for probably making as much money as possible, where you will get people to back it now. We'll maybe hit some of the stretch goals that are present now, and we can finally unlock and get a look at what the stretch goals are kind of after this, that the actual end of campaign backers can maybe get us towards. They're also doing a vote about which of these 2 it will be. It's not that you get 2 dice trays, you get to choose between these 2. Only one of them will be designed, I guess, by the end of it. So it's going to be this rustic brown PU leather tray with soft velvet interior, or a sleek black PU leather tray with gold etching. I'm pretty sure the idea is that these are probably just edited together here, just to give you an idea of how they will look, and the actual printing will be done well down the line. I think the color scheme of the gold on the black is better, but I like the idea of the kind of velvet interior of this a little bit better for it being a dice tray. But the color scheme is much better here. So I think I ultimately selected this, but I'd probably prefer it to be, if you could do it, where it's like black velvet kind of interior with still kind of gold symbols. Just that sort of idea, but it's certainly an interesting one here. So yeah, it looks like we're going to hit the next couple of goals here, if not in the middle of the campaign, for sure by the end of it, I think. How much is it actually going to make by the end? I'm not entirely sure. I think my initial prediction was maybe like 350,000. At this point, it's maybe looking more like 250,000. I think probably will be where it ends up in or around, but depending on how big the rush is at the end, maybe it'll get towards 300,000, but I don't really know how to judge these things all that well. A lot does depend on how stretch goals go from now until then, how well they communicate about a lot of this stuff, but we'll see what happens. And then finally, I've had this for a while now. There was actually an embargo for earlier on in the week, but I didn't feel any rush to cover this. This is about Avatar Legends Realms Collide, the upcoming mobile game, of course, for Avatar. I'm part of the, community contributor content program or whatever. Anyway, content creator officially involved with them. And this is the latest leak that they gave us about this Halloween event. I'm just going to go through some of the images here because I don't want to focus on it too much, because for the people who have the game, this is great. For people who don't have the game because it's in soft launch, this is just an event that you are going to miss and not see until next year, if it doesn't change before then. So just a kind of forest background here. Here's a new kind of character, the unwelcome guest. That's kind of part of the event. Here's how some of the kind of some of the imagery about this Halloween event, which they're calling the Night of the Mask, or the Night of Mask. So very, very much emphasizing the masks, as you can see along the ground here. You have a badger mole mask here and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. Here's some of the kind of character models in the game wearing some of these masks. So you can see there's like a sky bison mask, badger mole mask, and a bunch of kind of like other things as we go along here. Seems kind of cool enough, I guess, just as a minor kind of Halloween style event. Not really sure what to make of some of these screenshots in terms of what exactly they're going for, but again, highlighting that they're not just putting standard Halloween into the game. I do appreciate some of the effort to make it sort of like this is an Avatar version of what would be a Halloween event, just to keep it sort of quote-unquote lore kind of accurate. And some of the locations are also going to be slightly kind of adjusted with Halloween stuff, which is kind of cool. So note that these are just stock images of the characters that have the masks sort of like put over the top of them. These are very well known Avatar images. Like, for instance, going back to the start of the video, you'll probably recognize this Aang image as being the cover for the How to Draw book, and of course it's been used many places before, so there's nothing new there. And if you've seen a lot of other Avatar merch, all of these images have appeared elsewhere just without the mask, as you can see there. So yeah, that's all that stuff. I just thought I'd show it off because I have it, but you know, little frustrating giving us that information when most people can't play the game yet. The game still doesn't have a release date, even though they're making it quite clear it's definitely going to be this year, but they can't confirm when in the year it's going to be, which is weird because we're going into like what 8-9 weeks in the year left. And given that they're probably not going to launch it like in the very last week of the year, probably not the last 2 weeks of the year, they've got a month to kind of figure out what's going on here. Otherwise, it's probably delayed into next year. So they need to sort that stuff out for better communication purposes, but you know, that's the situation. So yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on all of this news. The How to Draw book here, the new pops especially. That's probably like one of the main news things here. What are your thoughts on that? The Kickstarter, and maybe even any thoughts you have on Realms Collide and its kind of Halloween themed event. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.